But the majority of Football Fan Cave today will be spent on NFL free agency, which kicked off this week. A ton of players. I tried to have them all down here in my notes. A ton of players on the move. I kind of broke them down into kind of biggest names, quarterback carousel. We're going to talk a little bit of New England Patriots and then some re-signings. And so I guess on that note, I will start with the biggest names, in my opinion, moving in NFL free agency, non-quarterbacks, of course. Corey Davis to the New York Jets. They get their number one wide receiver, I guess, to put beside Jamison Crowder. If they are giving Sam Darnold one more look, then now they have an extra weapon to give him to work with. Regardless, if they move off of Sam Darnold, then whoever they get with that number two pick is going to be a guy who has a weapon like Corey Davis, whether it's Zach Wilson or whether it's Trevor Lawrence or I don't know, or Justin Fields, whoever gets picked. They're going to have that weapon to work with. So good signing for them. He moves off of Tennessee, which is tough for them. We've got Yannick Ngakoue to the Las Vegas Raiders, bolstering their defensive line. Great pass rushing presence. He's actually moved around a bit last year because he went from Jacksonville to Minnesota, and now he's in Las Vegas. Hopefully he can provide them production on defensive end. And then you've got Bud Dupree, and I throw in Janoris Jenkins just so I have them both going to Tennessee, but Bud Dupree is the big name there. Incredibly proficient pass rusher with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Some people might tie his success to the other monster rushers on that Pittsburgh line, primarily TJ Watt. But it will be interesting to see what sort of pass rush he can provide for Tennessee, who have been searching for other guys. They tried out Jadeveon Clowney. They've had a couple of others come and go, but Bud Dupree is hopefully their blue chipper that they can have rush the quarterback, which they really need because they are still pretty weak on the defensive side of the ball. So those were kind of my top three names to track so far in free agency. The quarterback carousel moves along. Ryan Fitzpatrick going to the Washington football team to continue his Fitz magic. He may have the starting job unless they take a quarterback in the draft. Him and Taylor Heineke look to be the quarterback competition right now in Washington. Two other signings that I love by the football team were William Jackson, the corner from the Cincinnati Bengals. He's a number one corner who I guess Cincinnati just refused to pay, and Washington scoops him up and adds him to an already pretty stacked defense. So really great pickup for them. And they also get a speedy wide receiver in Curtis Samuel to just provide another weapon to go with Sims and McLaurin and their great running back duo with McKissick and Gibson. So great pickups for Washington. I think they actually had a really good free agency first week, at least. Andy Dalton. And this was the biggest one that everyone's talking about, going to the Chicago Bears. Bears fans, so tragic. I saw the meme circulating. It was Wheel of Fortune. You got like the in the bottom, you've got the L and the O and the N, and everyone's like, oh, I'll take Russell Wilson, but it's actually Andy Dalton. And I felt bad for Bears fans because they were hoping for like literally any possible good news on the quarterback front. I think they would have rather drafted a guy than sign Andy Dalton, who is telling the media right now he expects to be the starter. So poor Bears fans. Obviously, Dalton is fine, but he's not going to move the needle too much for them, and just ends up with another mediocre quarterback for the Bears, and they'll have him and Nick Foles going at it in their quarterback competition. Their other quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, moves from the Bears, signs with the Buffalo Bills to be their backup to Josh Allen. So he's going to get another opportunity to show some stuff. Fairly competent backup to have in case Allen, God forbid, has some sort of injury. And similar skill set in terms of being mobile. I think he'll actually be more successful in a Brian Daboll offense. He'll find some ways to rejuvenate his career, which of course will make Bears fans even more upset. As well, Emmanuel Sanders going to Buffalo as well. Great pickup for them. He's a great blocker as a wide receiver. He just does all the little things right. Of course, he was with the Denver Broncos for many years. I loved him there, and he's a great guy to put beside Stephon Diggs and John Brown, and the other young guys they have there with like Taylor, or what's his name, Gabriel Davis. Yeah, and so great pickup for Buffalo. They did well. Tyrod Taylor goes to the Houston Texans, I guess, to back up Deshaun Watson for now. But I don't think they're going to trade Deshaun Watson. But if they do, then they do have a pretty serviceable backup to have behind him. So very happy for Tyrod after he got his lung punctured by the Los Angeles Chargers doctor earlier in the season. And that's how Justin Herbert got his first look as an NFL quarterback. Yeah, pretty crazy story there. But lucky that Taylor's back and got paid another NFL contract. So very, very happy for him. The Miami Dolphins were active. They signed Jacoby Brissett to come in and compete for the starting role against Tua Tagovailoa. They also add LA Rams running back Malcolm Brown, who is great physical third down back for them. He can catch some passes out of the backfield and also give you some hard-earned yards. So now they have a true kind of like number one running back that they can go with, or pair him with Myles Gaskin and others. And they also pick up speed demon Will Fuller, who very injury prone, but a guy who can stretch the field for you. Just gives another weapon for Tua to put beside Devontae Parker. So great pickup there as long as he can stay healthy. And Miami, of course, has the cap space, and they do have the number 3 pick in the upcoming draft. So we'll see what they do there. So that wraps up the quarterback carousel. I briefly wanted to talk about the New England Patriots going against what everyone thought this team was about. Bill Belichick is never a big spender in free agency, but he goes out and he acquires a bunch of dudes, primarily Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, the 2 top tight ends in the free agency class. He goes and gets them to add to the team. He has realized the sunk costs where he has made mistakes in drafting tight ends and said, I'm going to go out and fill this position of need. Great pickups for the Patriots. He also gets Nelson Aguilar, who's a deep threat wide receiver, just a weapon to add to, again, a weak position where they needed more guys, just have not drafted wide receivers well in recent years. They pick up Matt Judon from the Ravens, who will be a solid interior presence for them on their defensive line. And Kyle Van Noy coming back to the Patriots, who received a compensatory, I think, late round draft pick from the Dolphins for letting him sign with Miami last season. So now they have that pick and they get to re-sign Kyle Van Noy to help him rejoin the Patriots. They're going to get some players back, most notably Dante Hightower, because a lot of Patriots opted out last season. So I think this Patriots team, despite, again, they went 7-9 and they probably should have gone 3-13, and they're going to get guys back. Obviously, the quarterback position is still a huge position of need. They re-signed Cam Newton. I think a lot of people love him in terms of his attitude, but I worry about his production because it doesn't look like he can really throw the ball deep down the field anymore. But the Patriots, besides quarterback, the team is starting to settle in again around the quarterback position. And they're going to be back in this playoff hunt again. I don't doubt it because that is just what they've done for 2 decades now.
There are quarterbacks in the market to be traded for. Do you see that as a thing that could potentially happen, or?
Yeah, so the big 2 that are looming, of course, are Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson as like the top trade targets. The only teams that really have the assets to get those guys are Jacksonville, New York, and Miami, because they have those top picks that they can give, plus more picks, plus like a tangible quarterback in return. I think Seattle specifically was saying if they were to move Russell Wilson, they'd be looking for a starter level quarterback in return. And not a lot of teams have that in addition to the draft capital. I don't think either of those like top quarterbacks get moved. And then the other quarterbacks that you're looking in trade or free agency market, just I don't know if they move the needle enough for the Patriots to really move. So they may be looking to move up in the draft and scoop Mac Jones from Alabama as a prospect. We'll get to the NFL draft in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah, I think the Patriots for now are stuck. They're either gonna have to find another bargain bin quarterback, or they're gonna have to draft a guy to put along with Cam Newton. But for now, Cam Newton's their guy. It's something they seem content with. I wouldn't be as a Pats fan, but again, the rest of their team is starting to look solid again. So you can never count this team out. Okay. The last section I want to talk about was the re-signings. Tampa Bay looks like they're running it back. Gronk, Shaq Barrett, Levante David, all re-signed with the Buccaneers. It looks like they're just going to keep the roster and go at it again. Why not? When you're the Super Bowl champs, you can do that. Guys take a couple discounts. They'll get one more run at it, and then maybe you go sign your big contract the next year, especially with the salary cap down. The new media deal just came in. Amazon getting all of the Thursday night games starting in 2022. ABC getting a couple Super Bowls. That's exciting. So the money's coming in a couple of years, and guys will be able to make their money then. So for now, with Tampa Bay, they're looking to run it back, go back-to-back champs. Leonard Williams gets a big pay raise and re-signs with the New York Giants. He was a prolific interior presence, pass rusher for the Giants, a big part of their defensive success this season. So they rewarded him with a big payday. And Trent Williams getting the largest contract in tackle history in the NFL, a big part of San Francisco's running game, pass protection. So shout out to the big boys in the offensive line. He's getting paid big money. So congrats to Trent Williams. There are a bunch of other names that have been signed that I could go into, but I think I've covered more than enough segments.